Factset versus Microsoft. Twisted Fate, Amumu, and Olaf banned out on the side of Factset. We're going to see, let's see, Microsoft ban out Xinjiao, Sona, and Diana for their choices. Suja is immediately going to respond with a Malphite. May or may not be a Malphite jungle, could very well be a Malphite top. However, Irelia gets locked in. So that's pretty much going to be a solidly Malphite jungle, unless they go Malphite mid. That'd be rather interesting to see. So, Brosif and Silent J going to lock in Anivia and Lulu for the side of Microsoft. So pretty standard picks coming out such far. I haven't seen much of Anivia lately. With the new changes of, you know, 80 casters and kind of the newer different champions coming out for mid lane, Anivia's kind of not so much fallen by the wayside in that aspect, but more or less just has some issues with bursty, strong mid lane champions. But let's see, Thresh and Rayleigh get locked in for Factset, and then Caitlyn, Nocturne. So that is going to be a Nocturne jungle. That means top lane still is yet to be picked for Microsoft. Last but not least, Ezreal and Olaf getting locked in. Getting locked in for Factset, and then Volibear, actually, for Microsoft. Now, this actually is played on the live server, so this is with the Volibear buff of the attack speed buff. So, rather interesting, and I don't see any trading going out yet, so yeah, it looks like a Malphite jungle going to be going up against a Nocturne jungle in that aspect, running down the lanes. Otherwise, we have, let's see, Ezreal Thresh versus Caitlyn Lulu in that aspect. And then, let's see, top lane, you've got Irelia Volibear. That one's going to be a very interesting lane for me to see. We haven't seen a lot of Volibear, and with that attack speed change, it's actually pretty big. I mean, it doesn't seem like a very big change on a champion, just upping their attack speed a fraction of a second. But with the way Volibear, just with the way his mechanics work as a champion, you know, running the attack speed a little bit higher, especially earlier on, really gives him a fighting chance. So that'll be rather interesting to see how that one turns out. And then mid lane, you've got Orianna versus Anivia, one of the, I want to say, legendary mid lane matchups. You know, Anivia is obviously a really just strong champion in general. She does a lot of damage really quickly. It's so very just easy for her to unleash a full combo and do it constantly. Up against an Orianna, who is a champion that's very safe, very sort of, she has her own burst and she has her own team fight potential, much like Anivia does. I would say almost a little bit more. The only difference being the wall from Anivia. That one always is either a little bit hit or a little bit miss. You know, I mean, it goes both ways really far. So without any further ado, let's see here. And then, yeah, the game's going to start in 2 minutes for the spectator delay. But, oh, and then something else a little bit more interesting. Volibear is actually taking Teleport, which means that he's going to be a little bit more he has that global presence. Of course, they've got, you know, Nocturne for a little bit of a semi-global presence or a quasi-global presence, if you want to go that far. He doesn't so much have an actual global ult, but it's such a long range that, you know, you really can't even, most of the general ward placements don't even spot him. You really have to kind of go out of your way, working with as a team, and then with that communication to really get a spot on Nocturne. So having that teleport really could actually allow for some really big team plays that way. The other big thing I wanted to point out is Thresh. I'm actually getting to see an actual game that's not, you know, a solo queue. Thresh coming out here. He's really strong. Let's just put that out on the table right now. Thresh is kind of a mixture of what? Blitzcrank and Leona with just utility of almost every support champion. He's just really good. It's just Thresh. He has a hook. He has a lantern that brings things back to you. He can go to you, or you have to go to him. Thresh is just awesome. I'm really excited to see that lane go down, especially since you have Ezreal now, because Ezreal kind of has that ability to sort of dodge all the skill shots in the world in that bottom lane. But Caitlyn has to be really, really safe going on that one. So it looks like here we go. We're going to be getting into the game here very, very quickly of Factset versus Microsoft here on the After Hours Gaming League. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, you should go to youtube.com/AfterHoursGamingTV and subscribe to see all the weekly videos that come out for both StarCraft 2 and for League of Legends. And then while you're at it, head on over to twitch.tv/InsigmaTheory and check that out on the live stream in case you don't catch this live. In case you're watching from the VOD at After Hours Gaming. So yeah, getting pretty excited here for today. Actually, fun little fact here. Factset so far in the After Hours Gaming League is undefeated. They've won 3 games and lost 0. So we'll see if they continue that one on here today. It's going to be Factset on the blue side in the bottom left corner. Taking a rundown, we've got Suja as that jungle Malphite. Meanwhile, you've got Extendo Hugs as that support Thresh. We've got Colonel Roscoe as that top lane Aurelia. Meanwhile, you've got Zazimash playing that AD carry Ezreal. And last but not least, Quaker Oats playing that mid lane Orianna. Up at the top lane for Microsoft on the right side of the map on the red team, you've got Brosif 4 playing that mid lane Anivia. Silent J going to be that support Lulu. Theostru as that the AD carry Caitlyn. I want to say that's Ibne playing that jungle Nocturne. And then last but not least, of course, you've got Alung as the top lane Volibear. I really hope that's how you pronounce it, because otherwise I'm just absolutely butchering it. Ward's gone down from both teams. Top lane is checking for that delayed invade up there. Meanwhile, you've got Microsoft warding their own race as well as the red buff on the enemy team. Get an idea of really just what's going on in the game. Aurelia is actually heading straight for top lane, while Orianna is going to be heading to Wolves with Malphite, and then Ezreal and Thresh going straight for that bottom lane. So aware that there's not really an invade going on the top side, everyone's just kind of going to go straight to their lanes and get set up pretty early. Meanwhile, you've got a pretty solid help coming out here for Microsoft onto the blue buff for Nocturne. So nothing completely out of the ordinary. And yeah, Aurelia did end up going top. One thing I did actually want to point out here is the items. Volibear actually, when he went back, he bought an extra potion. So he's got 4 potions as well as the crystalline flask. Whereas Aurelia really only has, she bought Boots of Speed and she bought a health potion as well as a sight ward, so she may not have as much laning power or laning regeneration as Volibear. That'll be interesting to see. We did actually get a smiteless blue buff for Microsoft, so Ibne could be catching Suja off at his own red. Now, I'm actually not sure if Suja saw that one or not. If he saw the particle effect here from Nocturne, so that may or may not have happened. That'll be rather interesting. Zazimash down at the bottom lane could be getting ganked out here pretty early. There aren't any wards just yet, but Thresh did get a pull onto Caitlyn, and they're going to back out, so he's going to be pretty safe on that one. Although Malphite is starting to get pretty behind here, as Nocturne did take that red buff. So we'll see if he's able to turn that one around pretty quickly or not. Ping's going down from mid lane. Quaker Oats might get caught out. Nocturne starts the gank. He lands the fear onto it, but Quaker Oats going to flash out. Still gets hit by the stun, but a nice frostbite from Anivia is going to chunk away at that health, causing her to chug those potions. She's got 1 potion already working away. I would imagine she'd go for the crystalline flask pretty quickly afterwards. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, actually, they're kind of just trading out CS at this point. Nothing extremely exciting going on up there. They're both just kind of staying really safe at that point. And Malphite right now is just kind of catch up, farming up his own jungle. Owling actually is really pushing the lane here. Does land a flip onto Roscoe. Roscoe's going to take quite a bit of damage. And he's at about 400 health now. Volibear still has a lot of potions. Really nice trades coming out from Volibear here. He's really putting the pressure onto Aurelia. Meanwhile, back at mid, Oriana's back at almost full health. But, see, Anivia actually started with 6 health potions and a couple of mana potions. So he's got a little bit more lane staying power, especially thanks to the the fairy charm and all of that. He's got a little bit more than Oriana, so we'll see if that one turns out to his favor soon enough. Xendo Hug's trying to land a hook onto Silent J. Not quite there yet. Let's see, Nocturne actually farming up in his jungle still at this point. Neither of them have gone back yet. So they've got a little bit of gold starting to rack up here. 800 gold on Nocturne to 750 on Malphite. Malphite's actually doing a really good job of sticking into it at this point. Nocturne setting up for the Wraith Steal. Smite goes down. Meanwhile, Colonel Roscoe is getting really low from that Volibear. In fact, he still hasn't even used a potion right now, or a use from the Crystalline Blast. He's actually doing really well. Colonel Roscoe lands in with the stun onto him, trying to stay safe. Volibear actually completely commits to it, lands the first blood onto Aurelia. Not much she could do at that point to kind of hold this one off. Meanwhile, Volibear's just going to hit 6, pop that ult, and push the lane really hard. Suja just now hitting top, does land the shard onto him, but he's going to be able to get away from that scot-free almost with a kill. So first blood did go down for Microsoft up in the top lane. 7,600 gold to 6.9 in the game. Zazimash down at the bottom is starting to get really low. Let's see, he's got 200 health at this point. Teleport coming out from Volibear, trying to get himself back to lane as quickly as possible. So he's pretty much not going to miss out on anything. Down at the bottom lane, though, Zazimash is taking a bit of damage from Caitlyn's Piltover. He's down to about 200 health right now, especially with that health regen from earlier. He's really starting to get low, so he's gonna have to back out at this point. He cannot stay in lane. If he stays, the poke from Glitterlance and the poke from the Piltover it's a lot to handle. So he's gonna back out, leaving Thresh here to hold this lane as long as possible. Tries to land a hook, sort of turn this lane around, but let's see. Yeah, those two are just gonna back. So Caitlyn and Lulu at this point going back to spend the money. Volibear might be setting up for a blue steal here. Blue should be coming up in about 5 seconds there, so Nocturne's going to land a ward down to the blue buff. But actually, Nocturne completely up and rushed the Giant's Belt at this point. Blue buff did start up. I would imagine they'd be going for it pretty soon. Meanwhile, Suja, though, is going to go straight for the Spirit Stone, as well as get boosts of speed. He's actually got 2 wards in his pocket, too. So he's going for a little bit of... Actually, even Oriana has 2 wards as well, so they're going for a lot of vision straight off the bat. Meanwhile, up at the top lane, Volibear, because of that first blood, had a lot of money, especially with the CS as well. Went straight up for that Giant's Belt, as well as the level 1 boots right out of the bat. Colonel Roscoe and Volibear just trading back and forth, trying to keep the minion wave. Meanwhile, down at the bottom lane, Ezreal came back to lane with a Vampiric Scepter and a Doran's Blade, while Caitlyn came back with boots and a pickaxe. So she's got a little bit more damage, but he's got a lot of lifesteal at this point, so he might be able to counteract that a little bit. We'll see how the shields come out from the supports as to whether or not they trade this one. Meanwhile, back at mid, Oriana and Nivea both with blue buffs. Let's see, Orianna came back to lane with a Chalice of Harmony, a little bit of magic resist, and a little bit of mana regen at this point. But Anivia actually came back with that tier, so he's starting to stack that one really early on. Extendo Hugs actually lands the hook onto Silent J, gets behind him, does land a little bit of a knockback, but Zazimash is taking a lot of hurt from Caitlyn there. Even from the Glitter Lance and you know, the damage here from Lulu, Zazimash was getting really low from that one. See, Caitlyn ults to land the poke out. Zazimash actually gets ulted on by Nocturne, but the Glitter Lance is going to be able to finish that one off. Meanwhile, Extendo Hugs starting to get dived under this bottom lane turret. Teostru is taking a couple of turret shots there. It does get a little bit low. She's going to have to back out of this one. Suja is starting to maybe commit to this fight, but no, he backs out, realizing Thresh wasn't quite there yet. So that was a good play there by Microsoft, landing a kill on that bottom lane, just committing to it from, you know, the Caitlyn ulti as well as the Lulu damage. Did pick up a kill on Zazimash, so that was really good there by Red Team. Actually, something I did want to point out though is Lulu actually went for a Philo Stone first, and is now starting to work towards the Sight Stone. However, Thresh actually just straight up rushed that Sight Stone. So with he's actually behind in gold per 10 stats, specifically just from that. The only really big thing though is that he doesn't really have to buy wards, so he's not quite. I don't know. He's actually saving a little bit of money in this lane, so he may actually be able to use that to his favor when it comes to itemizing on the support. We'll see how that one turns out in a little bit. Back at mid lane, both of them just kind of farming up. 87 CS on Orianna to 85. It's kind of going a little bit passively. Along up at the top, trying to trade back and forth with Colonel Roscoe. Actually, Aurelia came back to lane with a second Doran's Blade. So she's going for a little bit more damage. She needs to try to get herself back into the game early on here. If this doesn't actually pay off to get her back into the game, she actually could be in a bit of an issue. Suja actually did ult on top of Broseph, but he was able to flash out of that one. Suja's actually getting turned around on really quickly. Ibnang flashes forward for the kill, lands the auto attack onto it. Malphite goes down, and Nocturne might be committing onto Orianna. No, they're going to turn around, and she's going to stay pretty safe onto this one. Top lane turret did just go down. Colonel Roscoe's actually just trying to stay alive from this Volibear. He's got a lot of damage coming. He's just got a lot of damage coming out from this top lane. So Aurelia is kind of stuck on the back foot there. This might work out in her favor though. She might be able to get some farm and get herself back into the game. But 84 CS on Volibear to 65 on Aurelia. Meanwhile, taking a look in the jungle, 2,500 gold total on Malphite to 28 from Nocturne. The only really big difference coming from the kill there from that flash on mid lane. So they are starting to. We're seeing the difference in builds pretty much. Malphite actually going for level 2 boots right out of the bat, going for a lot of movement speed and a little bit of tankiness, whereas Nocturne actually completely forgoing boots and going for a Sunfire cape a little bit quicker. So actually, especially with you know, the Nocturne ult and the speed buff that he gets from his Q, you know, Nocturne kind of doesn't need those boots. Now you could say the same thing for Malphite. With his ult, it's still quite a big gap closer, so that may change things. But ward goes down, and Microsoft might be getting this dragon there. So yeah, Microsoft able to secure the dragon, keep that one out. Silent J might get caught out here by Malphite, but the stun goes down from Anivia onto Malphite. He actually gets knocked up completely and gets completely caught out. Extendo Hugs actually getting thrown back by Volibear. He was able to pick up another kill onto that. So Microsoft right now at 5 kills to 0, 19,000 gold against 14.8. So a pretty solid, you know, 4,300 gold lead right now. And then Volibear just teleports straight up to top. He's putting a lot of pressure into this game. You got to admit, he's really keeping the Aurelia really far behind. You know, she might have been able to say, okay, you're going to get Dragon, but I'm just going to push this top lane and maybe get that one. No, Microsoft is just completely denying it at this point. So they were able to pick up mid lane turret after taking Dragon. It's a pretty solid play coming out from Microsoft. And Quaker Oats checking the bushes, making sure she's not about to get ganked before she takes blue buff. Down at the bottom though, InsigmaTheory still on the Dorn's Blade and Vampiric Scepter. Is actually getting close to a BF sword. Whereas, let's see, Caitlyn actually does have the money for it right now. She's just kind of stuck under her own turret, farming up. Let's see, Orianna gets her own blue buff. Meanwhile, Anivia gets hers as well. Anivia actually coming back to lane with almost a Rod of Ages right now, so she's not rushing the Archangel. She's going for a little bit more sustain and a little bit, you know, a little bit of tankiness to keep herself alive. So it's a really good decision there by Anivia. Meanwhile, Orianna coming back to lane with the Sorcerer's Shoes. Bottom lane, let's see, bottom lane Nocturne ulting onto an Extendo Hug. He's actually got a lot of health. He might be able to hold this one off. InsigmaTheory actually lands the ult on top of Lulu, picks up one kill there. Suja's coming in from the back. I don't think they can see this one just yet. Even they might get completely caught here. Suja actually lands the shard onto it. He does not actually have enough mana for an ultimate. InsigmaTheory flashes forward, lands the Mystic Shot onto Theostru, but he's going to have to back out of this one. Bottom lane though, Volibear actually flashing forward, lands onto Suja. Suja goes down. Extendo Hugs might get caught out here. He's really low, but that shield is actually putting him in a really good spot. The knockback comes in from Thresh, keeping this Volibear just a little bit slow, and Orianna comes in to save the day. Volibear was not able to actually pick up a kill onto that one, but he put a lot of pressure onto the team, so Microsoft is able to pick up that bottom lane turret. Although up at top, Aurelia is pushing this one pretty hard. She might be able to get this one down in time, as Volibear's teleport is currently down. Alright, taking a look is what is going on through the game. Caitlyn has not had a chance to back yet, but she's sitting on 2,300 gold, so she's going to be able to get either her Bloodthirster or her Infinity Edge pretty quick here. She's really coming up onto it. Meanwhile, Volibear actually got the, so Aurelia was able to get that top lane turret, but meanwhile, Volibear actually got a Warden's Mail on top of his Giant's Belt, so he could be going for a, oh man, I haven't seen that item in so long, I almost forgot the name of it. Well, anyways, he could be going for that, or he could be going for, you know, a Warmog's armor. He could just be stacking health. There's a lot of Volibear's attacks, you know, stack with that, so it's a really, really, really good item, especially not only in the current meta, but just on Volibear in general. Although, let's see, Nocturne still at this point, 17 minutes into the game, does not have boots, but he was able to rush the Sunfire Cape and has a little bit of damage from that longsword. Not a whole lot though. He's mostly just a tanky utility jungler right now. Down at the bottom though, Caitlyn and Lulu might get caught out from a gank here with a ward in that. Tribush was able to spot that one. Aurelia's going to have to run back top really quickly, as Volibear is going to really put the pressure onto that one. Suja's just trying to farm his jungle and get himself back into the game right now. He's 0-3-0, really far behind this Nocturne, about, let's see, a little over 1,100 gold difference between the junglers. So Malphite's really feeling the hurt there of being far behind. He almost has the least gold in the game. The only really other big difference we're seeing in gold, actually all down the line except for mid lane. So Volibear is really far ahead. He's 1,400. Let's see, Suja though, getting the fear from Ibne, so he's gonna have to back out. He doesn't quite want to fight that one just yet. Up at the top lane though, they're going to be trading back and forth. But yeah, kind of all across the board, the gold difference is actually split pretty evenly. Usually you'll see, you know, one person have a lot of the kills on the one team, and then you just pick off that one person, and you can really actually manage team fights. But in this case, Microsoft has actually got a really good distribution. Bottom lane though, Zazimash getting completely committed on by eBay, really low, but he actually lands one more auto attack, and eBay was able to pick up a kill onto Ezreal. And Thresh didn't quite get the hook on the other side, so he wasn't able to slow that one down just yet. But it is 7 kills to 1, 19 minutes into the game, and Microsoft is setting up for the second dragon right now. Ward's going down from both teams, just trying to get sight of it. And Anivia is going to hold this one off, although they do land the hook onto Volibear. Anivia comes in from behind, starts to land a lot of damage onto Extendo Hugs. Extendo Hugs actually exhausting Volibear at just the right time, so the bite was not enough to finish him off. Meanwhile, Suja is just trying to hold this one out. Does get the big Wraith with Smite, but he's really low on mana, so he's not able to completely commit onto this one. Orianna lands the ult onto Microsoft. They are really low. Ezreal comes in. Doesn't quite hit the Lulu just yet, but Broseph getting really low as well, and Microsoft is going to have to back out of that one. Now, they did get Dragon for that, so that was still a really, really good trade. But I gotta say, Factset held that really well for what they had. You know, Randuin's Omen from... That's what the item was. The Randuin's Omen from Volibear really actually turned that fight around. You know, you've got Anivia, who's a lot of damage. You've got Volibear, who's actually proving to be quite a bit of a threat at this point. You know, and he turns around, pops the Randuin's Omen on Aurelia, or he pops the Randuin's Omen, slowing down Orianna and Malphite and everyone, and it's really not a fun time in that fight. So they did have to back up a little bit, but they were able to hold that one off pretty well. And I almost got a couple of kills out of that one, so that was pretty close. But one of the points I always strive to impress on people is that it's not about, you know, really making big plays to get yourself back into the game that could only put yourself behind further. It's actually about losing as slow as possible. League of Legends is a game completely based on making comebacks, making turnarounds, and team fights. You know, you might be down 6, 7, 8,000, even 10,000 gold at some point, but if you fight a team fight correctly and you do your jobs just right and maybe capitalize on a few mistakes, you can absolutely come back into a game. So Factset is actually is proving that it's so much so that it's not about making huge plays, getting yourself completely caught out, and then trying to get yourself back into the game that way. They're more or less just they know that there's going to be a gold lead from Microsoft. They know that there's going to be a huge difference. They're just slowing down that gap and slowing the aggression coming out from it. So they might be able to turn this around later on. So they're doing really good for how this game is going. Let's see here. Actually, though, Suja might be caught out here. Silent J does land the polymorph onto it. Nocturne's going to turn around, land the fear. Suja can't quite get out. He's getting really low, but he actually gets back with the Thresh lantern. So that was a really good job there by Extendo Hugs, holding his team pretty together for that one. And Anivia might be heading for this bottom lane, though. She does put a ward down, and they are able to spot Orianna heading down. Tries to land down a stun onto it. Wasn't quite there. Thresh just dropping wards all over the place, just trying to get himself some vision and keep his team pretty safe. Broseph still down here in the bottom lane, putting the pressure onto it. He goes just clearing the wave as fast as possible. Meanwhile, up at the top, you know, you've got Aurelia and Volibear holding themselves in place. Aurelia might be able to cancel the or stun and lock Volibear in from this top lane, so she might be able to hold him back from teleporting bottom. That all comes down to the play between those two onto that one, because if she's not lower than Volibear, she can't quite stun him, but she might be able to hold this one off. So she does get the stun onto Volibear. She's getting really low in terms of fighting between the two, but he's just really putting the pressure onto this top lane. Meanwhile, bottom, you've got Nocturne clearing this one out, and Anivia is actually heading up towards the red up top. Actually, Volibear pops his ult, is really committing onto this Aurelia. gets her really low, but this may not be enough. He actually has to back out of that one, and Aurelia actually makes it out alive from that. She still actually didn't quite have flash up just yet, and that one's going to come back up pretty quickly here. But Volibear is actually able to push this top lane turret, getting it kind of low. But he's going to have to back out as Malphite did head up there pretty quickly. So Volibear taking that little lead, although he did blow his flash and his ult. Now his ult should be up pretty quick here. It's got a 90-second cooldown, so by the time he gets back to top lane and the lane starts trading back and forth, his ult is going to be back up again. But he's going to be down flash for quite a while, and Aurelia's is about to pop back up. So this could be a chance for her to get herself into a good spot up in that top lane. Nocturne, though, ulting on to Zazimash. He is able to actually Essence Flux out of the fear here. Extendo Hugs trying to keep him back as slow as possible, but Volibear comes in from the side. Zazimash is not able to get away. The Fling and Ezreal is down for the count. Suja, though, trying to get something out of this one. Extendo Hugs getting focused down by Nocturne. Nocturne actually does land the speed onto himself, but Extendo Hugs actually makes it out alive, and Orianna is able to get there just in time to hold this one off, so they can't quite fully commit to this one yet. Though Caitlyn is up at the mid lane. Gonna really put the pressure onto it there, and Nivy's heading up as well. Thresh is gonna have to back, so you kind of do have a 3v4 at this point. Now, Nocturne doesn't quite have his ult, but this turret is just going down really fast. Really pops in on top of Caitlyn. She does take quite a bit of damage. Volibear actually focuses down onto Suja. Really goes down, one for the count, and then Quaker Oats starting to get ult by Caitlyn. That's 2 kills down here for Microsoft. This mid lane is pushing up really hard too. Nocturne's putting the pressure on to the bottom side. At the same time, mid lane turret did go down. The inhibitor turret's down really low, but Extendo Hug's actually getting caught out as well. Alling flings him back. That's another kill down for Microsoft, 11-1 at this point. There's a 10,000 gold lead. Factset's in kind of a little bit of trouble right now. Shard goes down onto Anivia, but Zazimash is able to get out just a little bit from the fling. He might be able to make it out alive on this one. No, he turns around, commits to the ult, and that's a double kill coming out from Broseph 4 on Microsoft. That's 13-1, and an ace comes out at this point, 26 minutes into the game. 42,500 gold, 29,700. Mid lane inhibitor is down, and bottom lane inhibitor turret has gone down. They may be able to get this one as Suja and Zazimash are down for another 14 seconds. Actually turns around. Quaker Oats getting really low. The fling from Volibear was enough to put him out of place. And Extendo Hugs wanted to defend that, but there's not really much just a Thresh can do when your team is going down kind of one by one, getting pulled out and getting picked off. Microsoft is playing this really well. Again, to go over that, Factset is 3-0 currently in the After Hours Gaming League. Microsoft is 1-2. They've got 1 win and 2 losses. So this might be the end of Factset's unbeatable, run at this point. But they could easily turn this one around. I use the term easily loosely at this point. No, but they absolutely could turn this one around. It's not a completely open and shut case, but they've got some work cut out for themselves right now. 46,000 gold on the side of Microsoft, 14 kills to 1. You've got all 3 turrets bottom lane down. You've got all 3 turrets mid lane down, and you've got 1 turret up top plus both dragons. It's a really, really big gold lead there for them, but maybe with some proper positioning and with a good Thresh hook or with a good Malphite ulti with an Orianna shockwave combo, they might be able to turn that one around. That's still a really deadly combo, and Orianna went straight for the death cap, so she's got a lot of damage right now. Malphite, though, is actually rushing the new Warmogs. Warmogs has actually just changed, but Along actually flinging Suja back into his own team. Broseph 4 lands a wall holding him in, and Suja's going to have to completely ult out of that one to stay alive. Microsoft actually might get a free Baron here, as Malphite may not be able to hold this one off. Yeah, the whole team's not quite going for it yet, and Baron is getting really low right now. It's actually going down pretty quickly. A wall comes in, just trying to delay this one as quickly as possible. And the Baron looks like it is going to go down, so Microsoft is going to be able to pick up a Baron here. Shirelius comes out from Lulu, and a flash comes in from Volibear, pulling Quaker Oats out of place. Actually, she shockwaved on herself, but it wasn't enough time. She actually went down so fast that the shockwave was not able to finish. And Microsoft is just heading straight for the Nexus turrets right now. Suja actually just barely alive at this point. The wall comes in from Anivia, holding him off just long enough for Caitlyn to finish that one off. Bottom lane Nexus turret has a lot of super minions on it, and I think this is going to be the nail in the coffin for Microsoft, unless Factset can turn something around here. Thresh actually lands the hook onto Nocturne, but that's not going to be enough. Anivia completely just clears him out, and Microsoft is going to go on with a win against Factset, ending the unbeaten streak there from Factset. So that's going to put Factset at 3-1 and Microsoft at 2-2 so far for the After Hours Gaming League.